schedule, but we'll get into that later. Match day 3, our first defeat of the season. This ain't going to be a meltdown show or rants or anything else that's dragging off our manager or this, that, and the other. It's just going to be normal chat and be real about things. Tonight I'm joined again by James. How you doing, James?
Very well, thank you. Good evening, fellas. How are you both?
Very good, thank you very much.
Good.
Yeah, I'm good as well, thanks. Especially after the result about that half hour ago. Little sweeten this weekend up a bit. And then obviously, as you can see, I'm joined by Andrew. How you doing, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I hope you two are well too. Is it hot in Amsterdam today?
Quite hot today, actually, Andrew. Yeah, quite hot today. They warned that there was going to be hot weather over the course of this weekend, and it's been quite good.
Right, so it's against the law usually in the UK to have nice weather on the bank holiday, so it's a bit of a change.
Yeah, you both got a bank holiday weekend. I'm off to work tomorrow.
Oh dear, we feel for you.
That's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. It swings and roundabouts, as they say.
I normally work bank holidays, but I'm not this time. But being self-employed, I've always had to usually work bank holidays, but I'm treating myself this one.
Right, yeah. So, what were your initial thoughts, guys, on the lineup and how it's set up in general, the formation? Andrew, you start with you.
I was actually really disappointed in the fact that, like I've mentioned a few times, I think they were there to be got at, and I was pleased that we got them early on in the season, and they haven't had the brilliant pre-season, and I think they've shown in I'm talking obviously Liverpool. They've shown in the previous matches that they can be got at. They conceded an awful lot of dribbles against, shots against the first couple of matches, a lot more than they were doing in each individual match at the end of last season. And I just really hoped that we would fight fire with fire and gone at them with a really strong sort of 4-3-3 formation and be very positive from the off. So I was a bit disappointed when I saw that it was sort of this 4-diamond-2 formation. I don't think it got the best out of Ceballos. I just think basically all great teams in history don't worry too much about what the other teams are going to do to them. They try and impose their game on the opposition. And I know we're not there yet, clearly, but I think that we'd have had a much better opportunity. We've had all our best players on the pitch from the start and really had a go at them. So, yeah, Ceballos was wasted in the position that he played. Very disappointed that Lacazette didn't play. But there you go. Yeah, I just don't understand why we mix things up and change things when we've already won the first couple of games, not against the greatest of opposition, granted, but why change a winning team? I don't know.
How about yourself, James? Anything to follow up on that?
Well, I think Andrew makes some great points, first and foremost. And I just thought, looking at it, especially the start of the game, the gap between the strikers and the midfield was humongous. And it was as if there was no real cohesion. And there was so much space for Liverpool to work in. And again, with our back line, I keep banging the drum for a back line to work as a collective unit. And even in doing the simple things well, getting tight to one another, just tracking men, looking at trying to man mark and being proactive. And it's a long old season, as we know, only too well. But I just think we've got to learn from this. We're playing against a side that is much further on than what we are in terms of personnel, in terms of team ethic. And we've just got to learn from last weekend, or yesterday, sorry, and going forward into the coming games, as Andrew says, play our best team and play to our strengths. I can understand Emery wanting to experiment, but he's also only signed a 2-year deal. And if certain targets are not met, i.e. getting a place in that top 4, I think he's going to come under tremendous pressure. And, you know, he's basically fighting now to try to secure that. And I just think we've got to, you know, learn from our mistakes and learn quickly, because we've got Europa League starting soon, where it's going to be a Thursday, Sunday rhythm, and games may be late on a Sunday as well. And we've got to deal with that. You've got the League Cup starting too, so the games are going to come thick and fast. So it's about learning as quickly as possible.
Agree.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And as you said offhand, I think you've mentioned numerous times about our defence and our backline, the communication, and it was so indefinite, especially in the third goal.
Yeah,
where David Luiz got skinned. Monreal's tracking, running back, and then Socrates is like, can't make where he wants to be.
I mean, Socrates was the worst part of that. I mean, he was literally jogging back. If he'd have bust the gut to get in front of him to close down that shot and throw his body in the way, then he would have well put him off. But he just didn't do it. He just jogging back towards him.
He's like half-hearted.
He almost stopped running. The last 2 or 3 yards, he stopped running. I watched it back a few times today. I mean, I think it's very harsh to criticise David Luiz for being turned the way he did with by Salah. I mean, a lot of great players, the last couple of years at least, have had that done to them and worse. I just think overall we need some younger legs in there. I mean, David Luiz has got the body of someone much younger. I believe that he's got a lot more juice in his engine than the other players we've got at our disposal. But I can't help but think that Socrates, as much as I like him and I like his attitude, I think I can't wait for Rob Holding to be back, to be honest, because I think Holding and Luiz will be a better pairing. Well, much better suited to each other, because Socrates, he does keep making mistakes as well. And I honestly think that Luiz is going to get all the pelters this season, and Socrates is a fan's favourite, but gets very little criticism. But he does quite an awful lot of mistakes, in my opinion. And again, I'm not completely slating the guy, because I actually like him, but he's got a lot of mistakes in him as well. That annoyed me with the third goal, that he didn't literally bust the blood vessel to get back and throw himself in the way of the shot.
I think as well, as a collective, I mean, I watched Arsenal live on a fair few occasions last season, and I remember one particular time back in January against Cardiff. There's a set piece ball coming in, and they're using sign language and they're pointing. Any collective defence, even if it's just one word, to just let everybody know what's going on, whether it's man on, whether it's I've got him, or it could be anything. Just keep it simple in that respect. And if you look at the blocks of the team, in terms of the defence and midfield and up top, we've got two lethal strikers. We've got a midfield which is coming along. I thought Joe Willock did ever so well yesterday. But our defence has got to just, I can't believe I'm saying this, being brought up on the famous back five, but even in just a simple defence, keep it simple. If you want to do it, if you want to play boring at the back line, then do so. And there was times yesterday where I'm sitting watching it on TV, and I must have said about 5 times, if in doubt, put it out. I know it might sound a bit negative, but to relieve the pressure a little bit, I can understand that playing from the back. But this is the European champions we're playing against, and they've just got to learn to work as a cohesive unit. I can understand fans saying about certain defenders, and everybody's got a right to their own opinion. But I think the lack of a collective cohesive unit that wants to fight and suffer to keep a clean sheet, I think until that really changes, I don't think we're going to see much progress, to be honest. And I think Andrew makes a great point. We really have missed Rob Holding. In that 22-game unbeaten run last season, he was pivotal. I remember going to the game against Sporting Lisbon. It wasn't the greatest game you'll ever see, but he was up against some really man-mounting strikers and midfielders, and he really was so composed when the balls were coming flying in and bodies were flying in, and he really kept a cool head. And I think when he's back, I think we are going to see a slight improvement.
I think Chambers has been unlucky as well. He started the season very well, and he was doing exactly what you just mentioned, James. He was, if there was any doubt at all, he was putting it out and playing the safe option. And I much prefer that. I went to the Emirates Cup and I was right behind where he was playing, and literally, probably about 30 yards away from him. And I watched him quite closely, and I was really impressed. And in the meantime, until Rob Holding gets back, I'd play him alongside David Luiz, because at least David Luiz is being communicative amongst the team as well. I like that about him, and I like his mentality, and I think his sort of shouting at the team, his winning mentality, it will rub off on the team throughout the course of this season. We have obviously got Ainsley Maitland-Niles at right back as well, as everyone keeps saying it's not his natural position. He's taking to it pretty well. I thought overall, he was pretty steady. He's got a lot of pace, but I just wish, and I've said this before, I just wish that he would now really concentrate on making himself a right back and learn the trade as a right back, because I think he could do it pretty quickly. And I think he could be an exceptional right back in a couple of years' time, rather than an average midfielder or average to good midfielder, where there's a lot more competition to get into the team, because every team's obviously only got one right back, but every team's got 3 or 4 midfielders. So I think you have far less competition, and he's got all the attributes to be a very good right back if he actually knuckles down and really learns the trade.
I think with him as a right back as well, Andrew, I think it's very much fits and starts. I mean, I like, for example, being a right back when we was exposed at Burnley at home, when he was caught a couple of times. But I remember the home game against Rennes back in March, when he was up against the likes of Sarr and Borgio, who were very, very inventive. And every time the ball came down his side, he did exactly what he needed to do. And he put the ball out of play time after time after time, which helped Arsenal to regroup and build and stay concentrated. And I think in that case, it's very much fits and starts. But as I say, if he really wants to make it his own, then he's got a great opportunity. But it's just at the moment those small lapses in concentration, and he's playing in the Arsenal first team, and he's a good deputy so far. But you hope that he will kick on as time goes on.
Yeah, I think so. I'm very much like you. I was brought up on the George Graham back four, and I always like my defenders to defend first and foremost. Yep. I've never really been a major fan of these defenders wanting to bring it out and play it into midfield. I just think, well, that's not your job, mate. You pass it to the midfielders and let them crack on with what they're here for. I've always been that way inclined, to be perfectly honest. But I'm very excited about the future when we have Tierney and Bellerin back available, and Rob Holding. I mean, that back four with Bellerin, Holding, Luiz, and Tierney. Now that is a proper decent back four, And I really hope we just, once they are all available, we stick with it and only replace the individuals as and when necessary for cup games or injury. I think a settled back four is critical for any team. You don't mess with the back four. You can tinker and rest players in midfield and up front every now and then, but not the back four. I think you should always play the same back four in every game, or every important game anyway.
Well, unless there's injuries or suspensions, and I think a settled back four would really help us, and also for them to work as a collective unit. I mean, we talk about that famous back five. They all got on and they all liked one another, and they all went and helped one another. When one was in trouble, one went to help the other one. When a goal was conceded, it wasn't, oh, Socrates has made a mistake and conceded a goal. That famous back line, when a goal was conceded, they all conceded. It wasn't just, oh, that's his fault. It was, we've conceded a goal and we've got to put it right. And I think a settled back four will really help us. And you wonder going forward about the regular changing of teams and things, and games are going to come thick and fast with the Europa League and League Cup, and it's about finding a right balance.
Yeah, and also I've got question in the chat from Don One. He's asking basically, should Arsenal develop its own high press like all the top European sides?
That takes time, though. That really does take time. I mean, if you look at the Liverpool team that press now, when Klopp first took over, they wasn't doing that, and it took a long time to really let that go through their system and to learn that. And then you're talking about even more time. I just think it's about finding a settled team and letting the team blossom and finding a set way. And we've got a team full of individual talents who are basically from everywhere, and everyone's got their own skill set, and everyone's got their own way of dealing with tough opponents and things. But it's about finding a collective, cohesive unit going forward and becoming more robust. And we can take a lot of heart in the 22 game unbeaten run, which nobody really expected last season. There are green shoots, but it is a long old season, as we know only too well. And you just got to, I know it sounds cliche, but you just got to take one game at a time.
Yeah, whenever I've coached young youth teams before, I always sort of teach the way whereby when you lose the ball, try and win it back within 10 seconds. And I think every professional team should do that. But we need to have the legs in midfield. And, I know there's so many Granit Xhaka fanboys on Twitter, and I've got nothing against the guy. He's got a lot of good qualities. But when you play someone like him in the centre of the park, you haven't got the personnel to play a high pressing game or a really high tempo, because he has physically not got it in him. And not only is he slow pace wise, but he's slow in his brain. He hasn't got a very quick footballing brain, and it just takes him a little bit longer to know what's going on around him. But if you play a midfield like Ceballos, Willock and Torreira, for example, it's my first choice, midfield three, you've got all the legs that you need. You've got all the players and the capacity you need to play a high pressing game, combined with our forward three. So you have to play the right personnel in the first place. I go back to what you said earlier about Emery. It's potentially his last season in charge of Arsenal, and I kind of understand why he's not going for it. Why not throw all the kitchen sink at it this season? Because there's a small chance he could actually become a legend for Arsenal if he can, have a cracking season. But if he just goes out timidly and doesn't put out, a good, strong, attacking, confident teams, then he's just going to go out with a whimper. I don't understand it. He's got to do everything he can this year to get a new contract, because he could be gone before the end of the season, because we haven't got to pay him off after this season. So he's got to be brave and bold and really go for teams.
I fully agree, Andrew. I think that's a great point. And I look at what he's done before with, for example, when he was at Almeria, when he was at Sevilla, when he was at Valencia. It was always like a snowball effect where the teams over time would get stronger. Maybe it's just a cautious element that he has in the first instance, and then building and gathering momentum. But it is, I think it's a great point, because there is a danger of that. I mean, I saw the television pictures yesterday where he looked a little bit, where he was grimacing on the touchline, and you think, just need to have a bit more oomph and a bit more being proactive and not be scared. Go out and be the boss. We've had great managers in the past, and also as well, I think to have a manager in charge for 22 years and then his successor to only get 2 years is very, very strange. I'm in a position where I interview professional players and managers, and I remember the interview I did with Danny Cowley at Lincoln, and he was explaining to me that every year you stay in charge of that club, the club that you're in charge with, in charge of, you know exactly what you need in terms of personnel, in terms of working as a group, in terms of the group getting on together. And I worry that if Arsenal, in the first instance, do not get top four, then I think the hammer will fall, unfortunately. But thankfully, it's far too premature to be talking about something like this. But he's got to be. He's got to really fight for it, and I think he will. I think it's just at the start of the season. I think he's perhaps a little bit timid and a little bit unsure, especially with the amount of names that have come in. And I think as time goes on, when the competitions and tournaments start, I think we'll see him being a lot more proactive, like he was last season.
Well, it's nothing more frustrating than the last 10 minutes of matches. If you're chasing the match and your team all of a sudden starts really pressing and forcing themselves on the opposition and looking really dangerous. That's so annoying. Why can't you just start the match like that when you know what to do in order to try and get a goal at the end? We looked like a different team the last 10 minutes. So, yeah, I really hope so. Anyway, I really hope he just not go completely gung-ho, but at least play to our strengths, because defending for the years hasn't been our strength, and we've always been top loaded as a team with great attacking talent, and obviously this season more than ever we've got that at our disposal, and we need to utilize that, get it to them as quickly and slickly as possible. Because and I don't know, it's a bit strange what's happening with Mesut Ozil now. I know what's gone on in the last few weeks. It's been had a horrible time, but to not be in the squad, and if we had a fit and firing Mesut Ozil, I mean, if he can't get motivated to perform to his best with those three players in front of him, then he never will anymore. So even if he doesn't play, we've got Ceballos and the other players we've mentioned who would thrive and should be able to get the ball to the front three as quickly as possible. So you've got to play to your strengths, and I'd really hope he does do that moving forward for the rest of the season.
I think the thing with me for Ozil, and the thing that really sticks in my throat and I find it difficult to forget, is I know it was the old regime, but when Ozil signed his contract, the official explanation was he's been offered it because it would cost us more to replace him. And now look, we've got a player on a wage of 350 grand a week who does not even make the matchday squad. Now, if he was injured or suspended, okay, he doesn't make the matchday squad, and I can understand having a torrid time about what's gone off the pitch. But how many times has he not made the matchday squad due to a slight injury or a sickness bug or not wanting to risk him? And there'll be times where we're going to need him this season, and he's not going to be there. And I really hope this is resolved sooner rather than later. Even if it's in the event of him leaving in January, so be it. I can understand fanboys and things like that. I mean, I see sometimes on my Twitter people comparing Ozil to Bergkamp. Now, okay, people that do that, you're entitled to your opinion, but sometimes you make yourself look silly in terms of what the greatest, in terms of just my opinion, the greatest player ever to play for Arsenal. And Ozil fans are comparing Ozil with him, and you think of what Dennis did for our club in terms of winning and in terms of fight and in terms of heart, and we haven't seen that from Ozil yet. So I just hope that the situation is resolved as soon as possible. And for me, that means in January, as soon as that January window opens, that's it, finished now, and then you can hopefully move on.
Well, I've got a sneaking suspicion that with everything that has gone on over the last few weeks, and him not being included at all, maybe he might be going before the transfer window closes somewhere in Europe.
Even better, Andrew. And then you can move on. Here, the window shuts on the 2nd of September, and there's rumblings of what's happening in different countries, but that would be even better. And then the whole club can move on and forget what's gone before and start afresh in that respect.
Yeah, he's part of the old regime who had it too comfortable, who knew that they were going to play next game regardless of what form they had. So we need to get rid of all of that old guard and move forward with sweep it all out the new broom, basically, and get a whole new mentality running throughout the club. And getting rid of Mesut Ozil would be a big step towards that, and let everyone know that signed on as a player for Arsenal. That no matter what your name is, no matter what your salary is, it's all about the mentality and giving everything for the team.
Yeah, definitely. There has been rumours today that it's just rumours at the moment that Monreal could be on his way back to La Liga for Real Sociedad. Do you think that's a bit of a risk at the moment because we've got one of our main left back out until after the international break at least?
I do, yeah. I think we should keep him until January at least because it's always after Christmas he fades anyway. His legs go towards Christmas time, but at the beginning of the season he's always pretty good still. And he actually showed a bit of pace yesterday with the third goal. I think it was Salah. He nearly made it. He kept up with him, but he wouldn't be able to do that after Christmas. I don't think he'd be knackered. He'd be on his hands and knees by the time he got to the box. But it would be a risk getting rid of him now because until Tierney gets fit, which hopefully won't be too long now, we ain't got. I mean, Kolasinac ain't going to be able to do it as a left back. Unfortunately, he'll be very exposed. So I think it would be a mistake. I mean, if we get I don't know, maybe 5 million for him. I mean, what's that really in this day and age? It's not worth it. He's worth more to us to keep him till Christmas.
Yeah, and especially with the games coming thick and fast in different tournaments, and he's also got leadership qualities, which he was captain at home to Burnley, and he's got those leadership qualities. Keep another body on board rather than us going under, if you like. And as Andrew says, maybe January is a possibility. And we've got to use our head. There's been far too many years where substandard players have been given extensions, or we've been cutting our nose off to spite our face, and we've now been with Koscielny receiving money for Koscielny, possibly eventually receiving money for Monreal. We've had players like Ramsey walk out the door for nothing. So it's good that we're getting at least a little bit back in order to reinvest. But I think in terms of body count and what we actually need, I think to keep him at least until January would be a good decision.
Yeah, it's a shame that we got rid of Dominic. Is it Dominic Thompson? It was, wasn't it? I think he actually played a couple of pre-season games. I thought he looked pretty good, pretty promising. And to get 3 million for him, everyone was going, "Oh, that's a good deal." But is it really 3 million? What's that in this day and age? Absolutely nothing. You couldn't buy, Aaron Wan-Bissaka's left finger for that. So I just think it's a bit odd that people think that's great, great bit of business. And I was also very disappointed that we got rid of Christian Bielik, to be honest. And people all over Twitter were saying, "Oh, that's an amazing bit of business, getting 10 million for him." But again, in this day and age, I really don't think it is. Yeah, we've seen some outstanding talents coming through from the European Under-21 Championship, and they're all being touted about at 25, 30 million. And I think he's got a lot going for him. And I was very disappointed that he went out, to be honest, and he left us. I hope we've got some kind of buyback or sell-on clause, where we've got first option to buy him back, because I think he could be the real deal. I really do. I think Derby have got themselves a bargain, really.
Oh, definitely. Talking of signings, obviously Pepe made his full debut yesterday. What was your impressions of his first start, basically first full 90 minutes? James?
He had chances, didn't he? That one-on-one that he had where he shot straight at the keeper. I don't know if he needs games and he needs to build up confidence, but that was a glorious chance that he missed. And you see him make Van Dijk really think about what he's doing, and that's a good sign. And I think he'll only get better. I think it could maybe be a confidence thing, but he's got pedigree. He did very well last season in helping Lille get to the Champions League and play his part in that with goals and assists. And I think he'll get better as the time goes on. But I think if we think of a front three of Pepe, Aubameyang, and Lacazette, that is a real strong front three that can cause problems for teams. And I think we'll see the best of him as time goes on in this season, I think.
I was really, really encouraged. I really like the look of him. Yes, of course, he's a bit rusty, but it was his first start. I mean, everyone knows that it takes a player no matter what your level of player, your level of your quality, it's going to take a few games to get into your stride. So yeah, I mean, give him at least half a dozen matches, and then you can start, thinking what he's going to do, because he makes players look like a mug, and not one defender in world football likes being run at with pace. He's scared. You could see he scared the life out of him.
Van Dijk made Van Dijk look bad.
He dribbled past him, and always, he scared the life out of them. And even Gary Neville, who everyone loves to hate, said he was the best player on the pitch. No, it wasn't Gary Neville. I beg your pardon. It was Jamie Redknapp.
Redknapp.
Yeah. So I honestly think he's very exciting. I cannot wait to see him sort of blossom within the team. I think he could, genuinely be an absolute star for us. I think he's shown in flashes what he can do, and so I honestly think when he gets his the first shot on target that goes in, it could be just open the floodgates for him. But not only that, he's going to create so much space for the other front two with his running. It's going to be fantastic. I think I'm really encouraged.
Oh, definitely. As you said, that first shots on target and all that. I'm hoping he saves that one for next week at home.
I can see it. Yeah, definitely. I can see it happening.
As you said about defenders and pace, that Tottenham defence. You looked at them today. Even though it wasn't pace that hurt them. Imagine what pace can do. Do that to that back line, because they're not be on end, not all that, in my opinion. Because that goal they conceded today was literally the slowest build up. It's most easiest in the sense of organise yourself, get yourself in position to defend it, and it's also stood there doing what we do, ball watch. And the next thing you know, the guy's free and he scored. So yeah, I'm excited with Pepe like I was before, but even watching the glimpses at the Emirates last week and then against Newcastle like 20 minutes the week before, he is, and I've said this in the last couple of shows, he's given us something that we haven't got. We don't have a player that's not afraid to have the ball at his feet and run with it.
It's almost like it's glued to his boot as well. It's not like he kicks it 20 yards and then catches it up. He's like properly dribbling like Stanley Matthews-esque. In this day and age, it's like he's literally like he's got it glued to his foot. So it's amazing, and he can run. He can do that quicker than most people can run. So yeah, very exciting. And I mean, I think he's. I don't know which two players. I had a clip today that I retweeted, where again he did the same thing against Burnley, where he changed his direction 180 degrees within just literally a split second, and the defenders left rolling their heads, thinking, "Oh God, what's he done?" He did it again today, and I honestly can't remember which Liverpool players were the victims this time, but within a second he was gone, and it's so exciting. You can't do that sort of thing if you're rubbish, or if you're not potentially world class player, and I honestly think he will be. So yeah, very very excited to see him, and Martinelli, who I absolutely love as well. I really hope he gets a lot of good minutes this year, because I think we've got a very, very special player on our hands with him as well. I really do.
I think with the fact that Iwobi was sold at the end of the window in terms of we can't replace him, I think that pretty much, in one sense, showed that Martinelli might be getting more football than what we were expecting.
Yeah, I think
again, going by pre-season, I won't be complaining, because he did look half decent. Let's be honest, for someone that's like 18, 19. Another gem, and it's from Brazil. Again, that could be an influence of Edu, known in the sense of, because he was in part of the training squad for the Copa America, so Edu would have seen him already in action. So maybe put a word in quick, like before anyone else snaps this guy up, go and get him. We're talking off the new regime just now, Edu. Again, they've turned up. They were since the summer, like beginning of the season. They've been at all the Raul, Edu, all at the home and away games they've turned up at. Are we encouraged by that, or?
Yeah,
I think it's a good thing. It's good to have representation of them taking their responsibilities so seriously, and taking accountability to want to arrange things in terms of personnel, in terms of outgoings and ingoings. I think, as regards to Martinelli, I think it's long overdue that we've dipped our toe back in the South American pool of talent. I think that should have happened a long time ago. It's a well game now. And, you get lots of people saying, oh, he's a really good player when they've seen clips on YouTube. YouTube makes any player look good. But it's about scouting and getting as early as possible, discovering new talent that we could utilise. And I think it's a good thing that Raul and Edu have been at games and want to see the team do well, and long may that continue.
Yeah, it's very nice to see, isn't it? And he's obviously Edu is in charge of not only the signings, etc., going forward, but obviously the whole football philosophy, and he wants to see that the players are how they're playing individually. So I mean, the fact that he's taking that so much of an interest is very positive. He's been seeing a lot of the youth games as well. I've read. So yeah, I really like that aspect. And we've got. I mean, I posted on Twitter. I don't know, it was yesterday or the day before, highlights of the under-18s team winning 6-1 the other day, and we've got some very special looking players coming through. Miguel Aziz looks like a proper player we've got on our hands there, just to mention one. So if Edu can sort of streamline the whole footballing philosophy throughout the whole club, then it's only going to be a good thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, always good to see young players coming through. It hasn't happened as much as what we would like in recent years, and for the young players to get an opportunity. You see the likes of Joe Willock really taking his opportunity, and I'm sure Reece Nelson as well will continue to improve. And I've often said as well, buying isn't always the only solution. You only have to think of how many players there are playing professional football that don't have a club, that are not playing football. I mean, I spoke to a player who plays for Mannheim in the third division in Germany recently, and he was telling me about when you're not playing, nobody seems to care about you. It's only when you're playing that people seem to care, and I think people sometimes can be oversighted that buying appears to be the only solution, and we've let a lot of good players, as Andrew said, Bielik. Bielik when he left for Derby County was a hell of a player. And we've let a lot of good players go, and it's about time about having a group of young players coming through and making a part of the first team squad, and we can really see the fruits of those lines going forward, I think.
Fruits of those loins, eh? God, a bit fruity there, James.
Indeed. So you should have a glass of black instead of water.
And staying on the border, obviously Josh Kroenke had another open interview, if you could say so, with David Ornstein last week. Did any of you catch that? Or
no, I didn't manage to. I think I saw little bits of it tweeted out, but I didn't manage to catch the whole thing. No.
From what you got, the clips you got to see, what was your intake on what you saw basically? James, sorry.
Well, I think it's good that he's wanting to be proactive. Like, for example, in the previous video he did where he said about, be excited. I think he wants to take it seriously. We've got owners now in terms of Stan Kroenke and Josh Kroenke, and you would like to think that Josh Kroenke is really kind of manoeuvring himself now to want to take the reins, if you like, and be proactive in this team. Maybe Stan Kroenke's priorities are, as far as I'm concerned, Kroenke's priorities is the LA Rams, and maybe when they become truly successful, we might see Kroenke having more of an input in Arsenal. But he has laid the outlay in terms of money, in terms of Pepe, in terms of Luis, in terms of Saliba. So there is obviously some interest there, and some being in a proactive way. But we should just see how it goes. we brought in players in the summer that all have one thing in common. They're all hungry. And it's a long time in one window that we brought players in that were all hungry to achieve and hungry to show their worth. And we've got to take advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely. And what was your thoughts on what he had to say for himself?
I'm using this word quite a lot this evening, it seems, but I'm very encouraged again by that he comes out. He doesn't have to do it.
No.
He doesn't have to come out and talk to the fans like he is, and it can only be a good thing that he's spending the time doing these interviews, because it's all what we've always wanted. And for me, it was never about the putting loads of money into the club. I like the fact that we're a self-supporting team. It was all about feeling that they cared. And when I started my petition before the We Care Do You one came out, it was about just that thing, really, whereby I wanted someone. For me at the time, it seemed like they were just happy for us to be in the Premier League and just taking the Premier League money each year. It didn't seem like they had the ambition to do anything more, to really properly challenge for the league. So when the We Care Do You campaign came out, he responded within sort of 24 hours, and and then he did the interview afterwards, after the letter as well. I was really pleased with that, because, again, like I said just a minute ago, he didn't have to do that. And the fact that he's come out now after the transfer window's closed and sort of reiterated a lot of things that he said before about being ambitious and only being in sport, full stop, just to be a winner. I'm happy. I'm definitely happy at the moment to take him at his word and see where it takes us, because I think a lot of the people were worried that it was Stan Kroenke that was really in charge, but it's clearly not the case. It's clearly Josh, and he seems to have much more of an interest in sport in general than Stan does. So I just hope that it's true that he really sort of does, or has fallen in love with Arsenal and really wants the best for us all, because it seems promising. Let's say that.
Yeah, again, I'll have to agree with both of you guys. And as you said, you didn't have to come out and respond to the petition, or even after the window's closed. You did have to do that interview the other day. But I find it more so refreshing to see the club itself being more communicative with the fan base, so the fan base itself knows what's going on now. Because it's like, for years we've had the nickname of Stan was Silent Stan, because literally he'd turn up to these AGM meetings and just sit there and say nothing, and then put out these little statements here and there. It was like the same word in every time, but nothing was being done behind the scenes. Whereas everything now seems sort of Josh has taken over the reins, so to speak. Things are starting to change now, and as you say, he didn't have to do it. He's done it, and I find it very refreshing. And I like the openness. Just I hope they stick to their word and they can pull this off. But with things like this, it's going to need time, and our fan base need to stop being so reactionary to every performance, every defeat.
I think if I could ask for one more thing to change behind the scenes, I would like to have an appointment for a specific defensive coach. I think the club is crying out for that. So I remember back in the day of George Graham, the back four, and obviously all the other defenders within the squad at the time were taken off, and they did their own specific training for defensive work and holding the line, and when to move, when to cover for each other, etc., etc. I think it's absolutely crying out for someone to come in and do that again and make such a difference. I mean, even Liverpool have got someone to come in and coach on throw-ins. I mean, what's the point? I mean, what the hell is that all about? We're going to teach them to do like the somersault type throw-ins or something. I don't know. I mean, it's important. Don't get me wrong, but if they can have a throwing coach, surely to God we can have a defensive coach. And there's a lot of good old Arsenal players who are doing nothing at the moment. Not to mention Mr. Adams. Yeah, Sol Campbell, obviously in between jobs. Should we say? I know he wants another managerial role, but you know, perhaps in the meantime, he could come in and whilst he's looking for another managerial job, help us out. Lee Dixon, Nigel Winterburn, you name it. Even Ashley Cole's retired now. And we know what a lot of us think about Ashley Cole, but he was a genuinely world-class defender. He was probably the best defender in left back in the world at one point. We've got to, if we utilise these people, and that leads me on to Dennis Bergkamp. I absolutely would love Dennis Bergkamp to become part of our backroom staff as well in some capacity. If someone else snaps him up, I'll be really annoyed because he's actively looking for a new role.
Well, to give you an update on what he's actually doing at the moment, Andrew, he's helping the reserve team of Almere City, who play in the Dutch First Division. He helps part-time train their youth team with strikers, and before that, he was in the backroom staff at Ajax when Peter Bosz was the manager. But he really does keep himself to himself. You don't hear a peep out of him. You really don't. And you very rarely do you see him in the media. He really does keep himself to himself. I'll send you a few links once our podcast is finished tonight about an interview I did with Denny Houston. He used to play for Fulham when Roy Hodgson was there. He now plays in America for San Jose Earthquakes, and he spoke about how Bergkamp would help him when he was at the club. And there's also a really, really good a YouTube video of an interview with Bergkamp when he was 21 years old, and the gist of the video is him explaining to the presenter that he was studying to be a physiotherapist. And he wanted to combine his study of physiotherapy together with his love of football. But at one point in time, he had to make a choice, and he chose football, fortunately. And he was at Ajax from the age of 12 and made his debut at 17. But obviously, I'm not just saying it because I live in the city where he was born and raised, but even before I moved here, he was the greatest Arsenal player I've ever seen, and that still is the case. And he just leads a very, very quiet life, and I think he would be interested in a potential role, but I think in his own time and in his own manner. So I think Arsenal would just have to be a bit patient as regards to that.
As long as they make an approach for him, I don't mind how long it takes. To be perfectly honest, he's my favourite player. Well, I say he's my favourite player. David Rocastle is my all-time favourite player, but Bergkamp is the best player I've ever seen. You know, anyway, I love him. You know, across world football, not just for Arsenal really, but I'd love to see him employed in some way behind the scenes. But I think that's very, very important. As far as I'm concerned, about getting a defensive coach in. I don't see why that's not the case, to be perfectly honest, within a club the size of Arsenal.
Yeah, I think it's a great point as well. But I also hope you would hope that, that back line that we had, that we talked about earlier on today, that we was brought up on, they all took responsibility for themselves and they all looked after one another. And I know times change and characters change, but you would hope that our current backline would at least take responsibility for a collective nature. But maybe a defensive coach is what they need to kind of give them that kick up the backside, if you like, and kind of help them even more in that respect.
Well, if you see some of the videos on the YouTube page, where I can't remember what they're called, where the two players ask each other questions and so on. It doesn't seem like they're that intelligent, to be perfectly honest. So I think they could do with a bit of teaching.
Yeah. Well, if that's needed, and again, that's why I always say, when it comes down to being able to communicate and, a backline that gets on and helps one another. I mean, I remember going to the semi-final against Atletico Madrid when we drew 1-1 at home. And their back line of the likes of Jimenez, Godin, Lucas Hernandez, And every single time that ball went out of play, there's some kind of regroup. There was some kind of conferring. Godin would speak to Hernandez, one would speak to Oblak, and they were at it the whole game long. And you look at that collective unit they had, and every time the cross came in, it was knocked out by Diego Godin, for example. And that kind of mechanism to work together is what we have to strive for, to be honest, I think.
I've got another question in the chat as well, from someone called Loki, of all names. Why did Arsenal let Liverpool's fullbacks have free rein to attack during the match? And
well, we weren't set up right, to be perfectly honest. We should have kept them occupied down the other end of the pitch. Like I said, we're not strong enough to be a defensive team. We need to be keeping the ball as far away as possible from our goal. It's very simple term. If we'd have kept the ball in moved it a lot quicker up the other end of the pitch, then we wouldn't have had that problem, to be perfectly honest. But let's face facts, though. They are the European champions for a reason. They're a very good team. And at the moment, their fullbacks are probably the best fullback pairing in world football. I genuinely think that we've got the ability to if not match them, be very, very close as soon as we get Bellerin and Tierney in the team and they're at their full fitness. I think they're going to be a match for anyone. And it's such a shame that they're not ready. They weren't ready for the match yesterday, because that would have been mouth-watering seeing the two fullback pairings up against each other. But the simple answer for me, in my opinion, is that we weren't set up correctly for the first 75 minutes. We were in the wrong formation, putting players in the wrong parts of the pitch where they could be most effective.
I think as well, when you got the likes of Xhaka and Guendouzi bumping into one another and one trying to do another man's job, going forward, we've got to be a lot more compact, and the spaces between the lines have got to be tighter. But also as a collective unit, just trust your fellow teammate to do their job properly. Don't go trying to do the jobs of others or run around like a bull in a china shop. And it's about learning. It's a defeat yesterday. I thought on social media some people got a little bit too carried away. It's a long old season. You don't win anything in August. And we've got games coming thick and fast. So just take one game at a time. But we've got to use the defeat as a huge learning curve going forward. We're going to go away to Manchester United. We're going to go away to the likes of Tottenham and Chelsea and Man City, and we've got to learn from our experience on Saturday, and learn going forward how to deal with keeping possession and going forward, and just hopefully we can learn from it. Guys, as you know, I'm an hour ahead here, so I'll be signing off now. It's been an absolute pleasure. Andrew, great to speak to you for the first time.
You too, James. All the best. Hope to speak to you again soon.
Yeah, we'll no doubt speak again soon. And Ryan, I should speak to you midweek, I believe.
Yep, I'll see. I'm going to announce that in a minute, very soon as well.
Look forward to that. I'll speak to you then. Take care.
No
Enjoy
worries.
the rest of your evening, fellas.
Take care. Bye-bye.
And you, James. Bye, James.
Bye.
And before we finish soon, looking forward now to the North London Derby, because now got that next week.
Yeah.
The hype and joy of that for the next 7 days. Yay. Keeps me busy though, I suppose. I'm here. No, what are your thoughts going into that game now? Because that's
I've always been very positive about it. I was positive about the Liverpool game as well, but I did reserve the judgment to change my mind about my score prediction if the team selection included Granit Xhaka, etc. But
he can't play next week. He cannot play.
No. like I said earlier, as long as we're set up right and the manager allows the team to really play to its strengths and attack with with youthful vigor, shall we say, with the correct midfield trio, There's absolutely no reason why we can't tear Spurs a new one, to be perfectly honest, because game by game, Pepe's getting better, getting stronger, getting more used to his teammates. It was his debut yesterday, and people were still, criticising him. It's a whole new city. People have got to think about the fact that they're human beings, these guys, and to move from a different country at a young age, he's got to find somewhere to live, settle down, bring his family over, get used to all his teammates, blah, 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 blah. It's going to take a while. And it's to get his full match fitness and get used to the runs that his teammates are going to make during the game. It's going to take a few games. So he's getting better as each match progresses, getting sharper. I wouldn't put it past him at all to score against Spurs. He's literally electric and frightening, and people hate, like I said, any defender in the world hates pace. People dribbling at them. They just don't know what to do with it a lot of the time. And I think with their central defensive partnership, they're not exactly young anymore. I think he could really scare the life out of them. Even if he doesn't actually do the damage personally, he creates so much space for the other front two. We've got to go 4-3-3. We've got to go positive. And we've got to have some pace and youth in the centre of the park. I think hopefully, I really hope we pick Ceballos, Willock and Torreira personally. I think they offer everything that we need to supply the front three, then take the ball from the defence and run with it and deliver it to the front three. I think Willock could be a truly great box-to-box player. Ceballos has got pretty much got everything, really. Unfortunately for him, he was stuck out wide against Liverpool, which is not his. It just doesn't suit him, and it doesn't show his full range of his ability. So hopefully that won't be the case, and we really go for it against Spurs, and we could probably have a good bumping win, which will give us so much confidence going forward. Yeah.
Going into because as we spoke before, going on the Arsenal ladies played their last pre-season friendly.
Yeah, let's hope we can repeat their 6-0 win that they got against Spurs.
Nice 6-0 win. Jordan Nobbs made another comeback as well and got a goal.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mentioned earlier about the under-18s team. I've got a sneaking feeling that might have been against Spurs. I don't know if
I believe so.
6-1. The 6-1. I posted some highlights of that on Twitter a couple of days ago. Yeah. I'm almost certain that might have been against Spurs and all.
I think it was, yeah.
So 6-1, 6-0. It's a good omen.
Oh, I was at the North London derby last year, and the place with the roof almost came off how many times, and that place was rocking. If that happened, if we absolutely bash them next week, imagine what the place is going to be like.
Oh, it'd be outstanding, wouldn't it? I mean, God.
Might bring the fan base together for a few days as well. Yay!
Well, like I said earlier, right? It could be the manager's last season in charge. He's going to go for it, and try his utmost.
His best team
to be. I mean, imagine if he did get a result like that against Spurs. A really big win. I mean, that's doing the world of good. And he could go down as like a legend for the club if he gets a new contract and goes on and produces for us. But if he does go out timidly by putting out negative teams, what a shame! What a shame!
As I've said before, it's like this year more than ever, you won't get a better opportunity to get in the top, either third or fourth.
No, I know.
Considering you've got Chelsea with Lampard and all what's going on there, and you've got the Man United situation as well.
I know. Did you see that GIF that was put out, by the way, about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with the hair and ears?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's the best thing I've ever seen on Twitter. I think I've watched that all day. It's absolutely mesmerising. It's so funny. Whoever did that deserves a lot of awards. Like I was tweeting, it's just the best thing ever. I can't even get my words out. It made me laugh so much. But yeah, we've got an amazing opportunity. I've got no confidence in Chelsea. They'll be. I don't think they'll.
I think they'll be lucky to be top 10.
Yeah, exactly. I do. I think I'm looking at around 8th for them personally. I don't think Spurs. I've said so often, and I keep repeating myself, but it
They've got
really
lucky the
annoys
last
me.
2 years. They've got lucky
I
the
know.
last 2 years.
Well, they've gone down in points year after year the last 2 seasons. They lost 20 games last year, and yet Pochettino is still hailed as some kind of god within the media, even though Arsene Wenger did what he's done.
And won trophies.
But won trophies at the same time. Yeah, exactly. You've got a top four, what was it, 18 years on the trot, and we got the Mickey taken out of us because they thought, oh, it's a top. They think top four is a trophy. Well, it's not so.
Literally Champions League football from 97-98 season all the way through till 3 years ago, not 3 years, seasons ago now, yeah.
Well, this is our third year.
This is our third year in Europa now, yeah.
Exactly.
So go back 3 years, that was our last
and yeah, all we got was mocked, and Spurs are pretty much nailed on to finish third according to all the media. So it does annoy me. I can't see them getting any better because although they've made a couple of good, they could potentially be good signings this summer, the majority of the squad is still the same. And in fact, they've actually let quite a few players go this summer again as well, haven't they?
They've got rid of Kieran Trippier and didn't replace him. No,
exactly.
Walker Peters as his replacement now.
Yeah.
And Danny Rose, they're treating him like absolute crap, and no wonder he wants out.
Well, I don't blame him, to be honest.
Toby Alderweireld, he literally last year of his contract again, and he wants out, but they're trying to get as much money as possible and try and price him out of a move every year. And Vertonghen's getting older, as we've said before.
Well, I've said this in previous sort of podcasts and stuff, that the old famous saying, if you keep using the same tools and doing the same things, you're going to get the same results, and that's what's happening with Spurs. And I can't see them getting any better than they have been. I mean, they're the greatest ever team.
One, I think.
The greatest ever team last season only finished a point above us by luck. You know,
because our players bottled it.
Well, yeah, we had one of our worst squads. We've had one of our worst squads in ages, and we only finished a point behind them. That says everything, really, doesn't it? And
also in a transition season as well.
Exactly.
And also we beat them when it comes to the league. We beat them at our place, and we're unlucky not to beat them at their place. No. I say their place is at Wembley, but all bar fucking piss poor officiating.
Well, 9 times out of 10, we would have won that game, wouldn't we? We were totally the best team, and we've got nothing to fear from Man United, Chelsea, or Tottenham. We've only got. I said at the beginning of the season as well, and before yesterday's match, that if we do follow that plan about being really confident in our own ability this year and really going for it and playing to our strengths, then we should be competing more for Liverpool with second than actually trying to get into the top four.
Just get third or fourth, yeah, literally.
Enough now. Well, I think we were 20. Was it 27? Did we finish on 70 points last season?
I think
72.
72, I believe.
I think it was 72, and they got
72. Then Spurs was 73. Yeah.
Yeah, so we were 25 points behind Liverpool last season. Now, I think it's extremely unlikely they're going to go through the whole season with only losing one game. And I think that they could still have a brilliant season and finish on 87 points rather than 97. And I don't think that's beyond the realms of possibility that they could be 10 points worse off this year. Now, that if you take into account the points differential between us and them last season, that would bring it down to 15. Now, no one can tell me that with the squad that we've got now against last season, that we can't make up 5 more wins than we did last year. With some of the games we lost, which we never should have lost. And even turning some of the draws or losses into draws or draws into wins, we could very easily make up an extra 15 points than we did last year. with the squad we've got now. If we do things the right way and we're confident, we go into every game thinking we're going to win it. So we could quite easily, and don't forget as well, the season before last, that Liverpool were 25 points behind City, and they made it up. I'm not saying we're going to get 90 plus points. That's all.
Imagine.
But we could get a lot more than we did last year.
Oh, definitely.
And that means that we should. Again, I'm not saying we're going to get second, but I think we should be competing more for second than
for that sort of
thinking that we are going to scrape into the top four. That's just
go under the radar, because no one's even now, no one's expecting us to achieve anything this year, let alone get.
It might be a good thing that we lost yesterday, to be perfectly honest, with the rest of the media. They'll probably write us off again already. And we can go about surprising a few people.
And also, just holding back onto last season, people in the media and everyone, our fan base got to remember that at the crucial point of the season, Emery lost half of his back line like that with the same injury, and that to be, even though we did lose out by a point, and it was of our own doing in the end by players and not making stupid mistakes. I'm not going to go into it all. We were close still. Imagine what would have happened if the injuries hadn't happened.
Well, imagine
Mustafi would not have had to play then.
We're missing some of our best defenders still, aren't we? So the back four, the back four that started yesterday, only one of them should remain in the next few weeks. Considering Bellerin's come back, Tierney to come in, and Rob Holding come back from injury as well. I think he played the other night as well for the under-23s. Yeah, he's doing well apparently. He's not got suffered any setbacks. So
touch wood.
I think I'm right in saying that Tierney should be back a bit earlier than we thought as well. So
he's trained with the ball, so that's a good thing.
Well, it's going to be utterly transformative. I mean, Bellerin has got his faults, don't get me wrong, but everyone, I think, since he's been out, basically, in everyone's head, he's the best right back in world football. But he's, with him on one side, with his creativity and pace, and Tierney on the other side, that's going to add a whole new dimension to our team. And when you take that into account, with David Luiz's ability with the pass, with the creativity, pace, and youth we've got now in the centre of the park, and then by the way, we've got one of the best front threes in Europe. It's going to be very exciting, very exciting. I'm very positive about the rest of this season. I think we're going to, throw a few shockwaves through the league throughout this season with some of the performances we could put in if we're allowed to.
Yeah, and if that happens, I'll take great pleasure in it, because I'm absolutely sick to death of getting media bashed by the media, by rival fans, week in, week out, season in, season out. Well, but as you touched on earlier, that Tottenham just finishing fourth is an achievement. But when we're doing it for year in, year out, we're getting slated left, right, and centre. But yeah.
I was like I said to you before, I was late coming in yesterday from the holiday, and I listened to the first part of the match on TalkSport, which anyone that follows me on Twitter knows exactly what I feel about TalkSport. I want to burn the whole place down. I absolutely hate it. But it was the only place I could listen to it whilst I was travelling back in. And seriously, they're so anti-Arsenal and they're totally biased. It was just absolutely unbelievable. It was just ridiculous. It sounded like we were absolutely getting thrashed, played off the park. And it's just embarrassing. But I just don't know where it comes from. But look, I've come to the conclusion now, because I've been moaning about the media on Twitter for months, and I've just come to the conclusion: just let them get on with it. and let us go under the radar, and let's just play some fantastic football and just let them keep on praising Spurs and Liverpool and everyone else, and just let them get on with it, because nothing's going to change. We could be the best team in world football ourselves, and we still wouldn't get enough praise.
Didn't score that good. Didn't score that goal good enough. Didn't defend that well enough. Even though
Exactly.
couldn't do nothing more.
Exactly. It's embarrassing, but let them get on with it. I can't be bothered anymore. I really can't.
Quick score prediction for next week from yourself.
God. With the disclaimer again about whether we're going to play Granit Xhaka or a back three or whatever. If we play a 4-3-3 and play our best players, then I'll go for 3-0 Arsenal.
Okay. Again, like you said, disclaimer: if we play our best players, don't. As I said this earlier, can go back. Anyone that's come in late can go back and check this out. Granit Xhaka cannot play next week. He proved it yesterday in the big game. He can't. He was the experienced player in that midfield three, and he didn't lead by example.
No,
he does it game in, game out. I've had enough. He ain't captain material for my club. Full stop. Let alone starting 11 for a North London derby. So yeah, if I've got strongest squad and the players are up fit on the day, 4-0. If the players turn up, they want it.
I was going to say 4-0 myself, but I erred on the side of caution. But I'm confident of a good win anyway. But ask me now before when the squad's announced. But Mkhitaryan and Xhaka, they're part of the old regime. I know that Xhaka hasn't been with us too long, but he is. Granit Xhaka would be a good footballer for someone. I personally think he would be probably the best player, the most valuable player in the MLS. I think it'd be ideally suited to the MLS because I call him a quarterback anyway, with his ability with the pass. But when we've got David Luiz in the team, it makes his role redundant because he's a better passer than Granit Xhaka, and he's got more diverse passing than Granit Xhaka. I mean, I know that the Serie A is still a tough league, but he would be better off there as well because it's tough, but it's a slower pace, and he would thrive in a club in a league like that. Sorry, and people would say after he'd gone there and he started lighting up with his performances. Oh, look, he's a brilliant player and blah blah. But that's because it's a slower pace of football. And he just hasn't got the brain for the Premier League pace. Unfortunately, he can't make decisions quick enough, and he can't see behind him like other players can with their peripheral vision. He just doesn't seem to see things. So he's got qualities, but not for Arsenal, not for the Premier League, unfortunately. And Mkhitaryan, there was a good player in there somewhere, but he's disappeared. He's disappeared, and we've never seen it. We've never seen him. So I think we've probably signed his twin brother, to be perfectly honest.
Wouldn't surprise me. But as I was saying now, I think Mourinho destroyed what Mkhitaryan was when he came to the Premier League. Mourinho destroyed that straight away. And obviously we've got the leftovers of what was left.
Well, since he's been reunited with Aubameyang, you'd have thought, if anything, that could have
brought him back to life.
And it hasn't, has it? We've not seen anything really. He's had a few good games where he's really had a positive impact, but that's very, very few and far between. So yeah, I mean, someone I spoke to. When was it? Where I was on Cannon Fodder TV a couple of days ago. I think someone put that he had one good game in 3, and I just wanted to say, well, one good game in 3 months or seasons. I haven't seen it myself. I don't know what some fans are watching, but I haven't seen him have one good game in 3.
Actually, even half a good game.
Yeah, I know. I was saying one good game in 3 seasons.
Name that game.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So yeah,
dear.
also positive. We get that kind of mentality back where we walk into every stadium thinking we're going to win.
Home and away, yeah, especially away, but away from Salted.
Any stadium. Do you know what? When we were
Yeah.
with the Invincibles and the 2 or 3 seasons either side of the Invincibles, I didn't even know who we were playing at the weekend.
No.
I didn't care because I was confident we'll beat everyone.
Yeah.
And if we get that sort of confidence back as a squad,
Imagine
it
what you do.
ain't going to happen as the fan base. We all know that, just looking on Twitter. But if the squad can get that kind of belief back in them, then we will win a lot more games than we lose. An awful lot more games than we lose. So we wouldn't have to worry too much about our rocky defence if we gave the midfield and forwards a bit more license to have fun and enjoy their game and do what they feel is natural. And just very quickly, I know you probably want to get off, but the front three, for me, people say Aubameyang shouldn't be playing on the left. You know, he doesn't suit him, blah, blah. I think the front three should all be interchangeable. I think they should be. Yeah, I think they should be allowed the freedom of the top of the pitch and let them do what they want because they're intelligent enough as footballers to do that. They've that quality. They've got that quality in them. So just let the front three go out onto the pitch and don't give them specific orders to be defensive. I mean, yeah, it's just ridiculous. They'll naturally track back to try and win the ball back because they're that type of player. They want to score a goal. So they will do that. You haven't got to tell them to run halfway up the pitch to try and run and track the player. Just let them get on with it and say all three, the front three, just let them do what they want. Be interchangeable. Don't be rigid. I think it'll just be electric once they all get used to each other and the way that they, when Pepe knows what runs they're going to make. I think it'll just be very exciting.
Definitely. Now, as you said, we've got to wrap up soon. Before we do, obviously North London Derby week. So I've mentioned to be busy. I've got a couple. I'm basically doing a North London Derby special show on Wednesday, which I'm going to get to in a minute. I've got a special preview show for the Saturday. I'm going to review for the North London Derby on the Monday. But basically on the special show, I've gone and got James coming back on and Marco, and we've been joined by a special guest, a good friend of one of your favourite players, David Roadcastle from 89 and the early 90s. Kevin Campbell.
Oh, yeah.
He's agreed to come on.
That's
so we're going to be talking about 89 and his time at Arsenal and more specifically how it was for him as a fan and then as a player taking part in the North London Derby from both sides. And yeah, just having general chit chat and have a laugh basically. Hopefully Spurs' expense.
That sounds great. Yeah. Well, I remember him when I used to go and watch him play every week, and I just remember thinking as a young kid, his thighs are bigger than my chest. Yeah, he had the biggest thighs, Kevin Campbell. You have to mention it to him. I've told him on Twitter before. So he had the biggest thighs. But I don't know how he ran without causing friction burns. Thighs rubbing together. He can half hit a ball. He had so much power. Yeah,
he had presence. He had presence as well because of his physicality.
He did. Yeah, he certainly wasn't bullied by any defender. Put it that way. But I'm waiting for the day when someone has Gus Caesar on as a guest.
Yes, I'd like to get him on. Just obviously getting all of these people. I'm just lucky.
Yeah, I wonder what Gus is doing now. What a great cult hero he was. Is.
Yes. Well, and obviously talking of North London derbies as well. Obviously, even though he was with us briefly back in the early 2000s, part of the Invincibles, Jose Antonio Reyes had his fun against Tottenham. What was your thoughts when it all came out? What happened back in June? And what did you make of the club's thing they did for him on the Emirates Cup weekend?
Yeah, I mean that was. It was I mean, there was a lot of outpouring of grief from all his previous clubs, and rightly so. It's just absolutely heartbreaking, to be honest. It was really sad. It really hit me hard.
Mm.
And all I can
Same, yeah.
remember is very quickly after it happened, and there was also all the outpouring of grief from across the globe for him. There was a video put on Twitter. I think it was an Instagram video that he posted not long before it happened. I think just within a week.
I think you know that, yeah.
Where
His family and all that, yeah.
kids and one of the little girls ran up and into his arms, and he gave him a big hug. And there must have been a high pollen count that day because my eyes were really watering, if I'm honest. But it was, I really liked him, and it's just a shame he couldn't stay with us as a team longer because we didn't see the absolute ultimate best from him. But it was purely because he was
still getting better.
It was purely down to being really homesick, and he's a home boy, which is nothing wrong with that at all. And that's like I said earlier about people, allowing players to settle in a new country. When we were talking about Pepe, and said people forget that they're human beings and they've got to move their families over to a different country at a young age, find somewhere to live, get school for the kids, and blah 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 blah.
And then a new language as well.
And
also, he was 20 because I'm 30 now. And he was 20 when I was 15 when he joined. So yeah, 20-year-old young man coming to a whole new country, whole new language, new everything.
Exactly. Can you imagine what he must have felt like if he's, a really real strong family man? And it was a real shame. But yeah, I mean, it's typical media again, where of course what he was doing when it all happened was wrong, but
took more notice about it.
Why focus on that immediately and put a bad light on what's happened to such a young guy? He was still playing football. He was still a player. He's 35 years old. And, a really young kid.
He was still playing as well.
Yeah, and he was the rumours came out afterwards as well, which apparently were confirmed, that he was due to come and join Unai Emery's staff this summer.
Oh god! That again, because he did invincible at Arsenal, that would have gone down brilliantly. Him and Nürnberg reunited as well.
Well, apparently that was true. That it was all sorted out that he was going to come and join us, working with the youngsters this summer. So, yeah, extremely sad. I can remember how I felt when David Rocastle passed away.
Oh,
one of my memories when I was a kid, I went to see Millwall v Arsenal, and I was there the day when he nearly died on the pitch, when Gary Lewin saved his life when he swallowed his tongue. And I didn't know at the time, but he had to break his jaw to pull his tongue back out from his throat. And he was literally about 10 meters away from where I was standing at the front at the Den. And my favorite player was like, I thought he was literally dying in front of me on the pitch. And when he did pass on, I'm not over it now.
Yeah, far too young as well.
I still think about him all the time. And whenever I get a new kit, I only ever have number 7, Rocastle on the back, because he's my idol when I was growing up as a kid, and he was our X factor. A lot of my friends at school in London at the time were Liverpool fans because they were the best team at the time.
Yeah,
and
they were the team to beat,
and they had John Barnes, we had David Rocastle, and I was so proud of us as a team having someone like him in the squad. And so when Reyes passed on, it was although he wasn't such a massive legend to the club because he was only with us for such a short period of time, it was still devastating. And he's an invincible, isn't he?
Yeah.
You played a big part after joining us in January.
Exactly, literally, what he joined us in January that season. He played a massive part, not just in the league, in the cup as well. I think it was his goal against Portsmouth that kept our unbeaten run going
Mm.
after he just won the title.
I know, yeah. And
And
he remember when he got absolutely bullied off the pitch by the Neville brothers, who just decided to victimise him for that game. And fair play, he got up every time and carried on, and didn't let it affect him. Sorry, and yeah, it's horrible though. And what hit me, because I've got 3 boys, young boys of my own, and seeing that video when he's got with his children, and yeah, it's just heartbreaking when you know that those 3 kids have lost their dad, and you know, they're very sad.
yeah, still, when it first, before they officially confirmed it was rumoured about it. I was hoping more than anything it was some sort of hoax, just because.
Apparently
But it's
not. No.
so young.
I know.
But yeah, as I was saying, literally, he came into us, had a massive influence on a massive part of our club history now, and that will be forever in. And Danny Ceballos, who we got on loan, said that part of the reason he came to us, he chose us over them, not down the road, was because he spoke to Jose Antonio Reyes' dad just before, and his dad said to Arsenal to come to join, and once you do, you'll love it every second of it. Because they're class above everyone else. This absolutely praised us, and that, I think it's at the training complex. There's a massive photo basically on one of the walls of just of Reyes, and Reyes is one of his childhood heroes when he was playing. So, yeah,
I know. It's yeah. It's an awful situation, and but I remember once, and I'm pretty sure it was Bob Wilson that said, no matter whatever club you go to, whenever you leave Arsenal, it's a step down because of the class of the club, the way that they treat you. Obviously, we had the Marble Halls at the time when he was talking about that, and but I still think it stands to this day. We may not be the biggest club in the world, the most successful club in the world, but any player that leaves Arsenal is still taking a step down in class. And I think it stays with people whenever they do leave the club. I think still, I honestly think that Arsene Wenger is a heartbroken man, and because of what he's done for the club, I don't think he'll ever be the same person again. And I think he actually said himself a little bit of his heart was left in the club, and it happens to a lot of players as well. So whenever you play for Arsenal, it's a massive thing, and I don't think it ever leaves you. And yeah, I don't think there's any. You can't buy class. Let's put it that way. And all these clubs like Man City, Chelsea, you think they're it. They don't have the class of that club.
No, and I think if you talk about more recent players, Cesc Fabregas, for example, left us to Barcelona. Barcelona was sitting their peak, and he said he regretted, even though it's his boiled club, he regretted every second of leaving Arsenal because straight away the difference in class and this, that, and the other compared to the 2 clubs. You noticed he always wanted to come back, but obviously we all know what happened there.
I think it was
Henry as well.
I think I'm remembering it right that it was on the Arscast that I think it might have been James Gunner blog that said that that was another thing that was massively affected Arsene Wenger when Cesc Fabregas left. I think that broke his heart as well because of the way he thought about Cesc and the way he sort of followed through with leaving Arsenal to go to Barcelona. Really affected him, and I can actually believe that. I was thinking about it after he said it for a while, and it makes a lot of sense.
It would explain why he stuck to his guns on going forward after Cesc left, and the fact that and then had the opportunity to be signing when Barcelona wanted him gone. And he basically went, no.
We had first
I'm
refusal,
happy
didn't
for
we?
him to go to Chelsea.
Yeah, we had first refusal on signing him, and we refused because
First
of.
refusal would have been cheaper as well for us as well.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was. Yeah, it's a massive shame.
Anyway, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me.
Hopefully you'll come back on soon, at some point this season. When you're not busy with your own chat podcasts and all that.
Yeah, anytime. Just drop me a line. I'll be delighted to come back on if you'll have me.
And where can the people find you as well?
Yeah, if you can, please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you like what I've got to say. It's I don't know the actual address, but I'll put the link in the chat box underneath, or the comment section, I should say. It's From Dial Square to Where, and I'm on Twitter, which is @From Dial Square. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well, but I don't really often go on those platforms. So if you want to send me any feedback, any thoughts, you can email me on fromdialsquaretoWhere@gmail.com. And I'm on all the podcast platforms that where you can find your podcast, Spotify, iTunes, etc. So yeah, please look me up and subscribe. I've probably got a very paltry amount of subscribers at the moment, so I'd love to get a few more on board. And I'd love it if you can come on my show one day as well. That'd be fantastic, Ryan.
So drop me an inbox on Twitter or something, and we'll sort that out sometime.
That'd be great, mate. Yes, I'd love to. And I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for having me. And hope to speak to you again soon.
And yeah, vice versa. And again, thanks for giving me your time. And again, thanks to James from earlier on, who was on here. He had to leave a bit early because of his time difference. And as I said earlier, Wednesday, you've got North London Derby special show where we've got James back on, Marco, and we're going to be joined by an ex-Arsenal legend who part of the early night, the George Graham era, Kevin Campbell. As I said before, going to talk about the '89 and all his time at Arsenal, all his achievements, all his fond memories that no one would know of publicly. And yeah, then drop in the comment about his thighs as well.
Yeah, well, if you've got the space, get me on Wednesday and I'll ask him myself.
Yeah, I've got space. Yeah. if you're available, it's around 7.
I'll be
right?
there. If I can talk to Kevin, suit me, Kev. I'll be there like a shot, like a rat up a drain pipe, mate.
All right, there you go. We've got an extra guest on as well. Andrew's coming back on Wednesday as well. There you go.
Fantastic. I'm too cheeky for me and good.
For everyone that's coming live, thanks for coming along. Hope you've got to like. If you're new, you've just come across this and you like what you've seen and what you've heard, you don't have to be an Arsenal fan either, but it would help. As long as you're not down the road, that'd be fantastic. Subscribe, hit the notification button so you don't miss any of the shows going forward, especially this week. As I said, I've got a jam-packed schedule for this week of content for you guys. And share it about as well, so it helps me get the word out of what I'm doing, so I can look at the channel grow even more. And yeah, leave a massive like. And until Wednesday now,
come on, you Gooners.
Come on, you Gooners, and enjoy the rest of it, and don't stress out. Have faith in me.
Take care.